Is the Jerry Maguire movie, how is that about you? How close to that was based on your experiences?
It really came out of the 2-year period where I was being followed by. So sorry, we have
Icky Woods in the background.
Is that Icky?
That's Icky Woods.
Go back and do your commercial again, Icky. Let us do this interview. It's in '93. Cameron Crowe called me up, the director of Jerry Maguire, and asked if he could follow me around, and asked where he could come with me. So he went to the '93 draft. He went to the press conference of Bill Parcells, USC Scouting Day, to a variety of different football games, and I took him to Super Bowls, and I told him stories, lots and lots of stories. So he went off and wrote the script, and which is, sometimes it's things I told him, but sometimes it's a twist on them. So I never lost the first pick in the draft, but a lot of it's, I promised Cameron I wouldn't talk about what is up on the screen. But anyway, after it was done, I had to vet the script. So in a sports movie, you want the willing suspension of disbelief that keeps you in that movie not to be broken. So if it looks phony, if the dialogue's phony. And then I actually took Cuba Gooding Jr. down here to the Super Bowl when it was in Phoenix, and he had to pretend he was a wide receiver for a week.
And the line, "Show me the money," is iconic in moviedom now, and that's kind of been your job for a lot of years for these players, hasn't it?
That line came from Tim McDonald, who was a strong safety, who I took to Palm Desert to sign as a free agent. And he was up in his hotel room one night with Cameron, and Moneyline with Lou Dobbs was on in the background. And Cameron said to Tim, "What are you looking for in this experience?" And he said, "Well, I'm looking for a team to show me some respect. I'm looking for a team to show me financial security. I'm looking for a team." And then either Tim said or Cameron wrote, "Show me the money."
As an agent, what's easier to deal with? What's more fun to deal with? A guy like Jerry Jones, who is a type A plus personality, or the more reserved guy when you go to negotiate a contract?
The beauty of dealing with Jerry Jones, which I did from the beginning of when he bought the Cowboys, because of Troy Aikman, and 2 years later Russell Maryland was the first pick, and we ended up with Darren Woodson and Moose Johnson and half the team, is that whip smart, sees the larger picture, and is able to calculate and make a deal quickly. So the upside or downside is with a strong-willed owner. If you make a presentation that's compelling and it makes sense to him and you can craft a win-win, he can say yes right there. Or he could send your client to Ulaanbaatar.
Yeah.
So I'd rather deal with that decision maker.
Books have been written about negotiating,
which I wrote Winning with Integrity.
I mean, a negotiation does not mean a shouting match. It doesn't mean back and forth. Define a negotiation to me? And that's not just in sports.
So what you need to do, Bill, is to do an internal inventory before you go into the situation, whether it's for a job, a car, whether it's to negotiate with your kids over what time curfew is, and understand the other person. Get into their heart and mind. Understand what they need to be successful. And then with your own interest, try to craft some structure that will fill both sides and will fill a need. It's called win-win negotiating. So when you're doing repetitive business, as we often do, you need to make a compelling case. I need to show a general manager why what I'm asking for is fair. Comparative salaries, comparative performances, the future. So it should never be about yelling, and it should never be about personal. Every person who negotiates for themselves has to be clear what their 3 or 4 top priorities are. Everything can't be as important as everything else.